To move on to something good that happened this year, we had a missing person in May. He's actually 85 years old, and they did a really good news story on this because we ended up finding him, and he was fine.
William Colbert is alive but shaken. There was no doubt in the minds of the Annapolis Police Department that with his age, mental condition, and today's weather, this was a life-threatening situation. That's why the Annapolis police threw all they had into this search.
Like I said, he may or may not know where he is.
From officers hitting the streets with flyers, to a more modern approach with their Facebook post, to a new high-tech tool. Today, Annapolis police are using a handheld FLIR device that's forward-looking infrared. What they do is they scan the area. If they'll see the body heat, they'll be able to locate the subject.
214, Officer Mark.
Officer Rodney Butler was in a stretch of woods using the FLIR off of 665 in Annapolis around 12:30 this afternoon, and 50 yards from here, they got good news.
215 radio, I found him in the woods off of 665 on High
I couldn't believe it.
He surprised me. I just didn't, I don't know, I was looking, I almost turned back, and I happened to turn around, and there he was.
Officer Autumn Gilbert found Colbert in the woods.
There were several times I was a little tired and very soaked and wanted to give up, but I knew if my grandpa fell in the water, I'd want to get, or fell outside somewhere, got lost, I'd want somebody to go find him, so I had to keep looking.
He's cold, very stiff. He was conscious and coherent, but he definitely needs medical attention because of hypothermia. Or if we can't find him within the first 48, it's going to be pretty hard to find him after that. A great ending. It was joyful. We're overjoyed because we found him alive.
So that was a great outcome that we had. Using that tool from the fire department, it definitely helped. We were looking in that thick brush off 665, and it was wet and rainy, and it was actually pretty chilly for the end of May, and he was suffering from some exposure from being out there overnight. But his family was very, very happy that we found him. I'm going to kind of rush through some stuff real quick because I don't want you guys to be here all night and hungry and and all that. You know, please, if you have any questions, you know, stop me.
Can I ask a quick question before
yes.
knowing who's facing that
Sure.
missing person? Has there been any progress in your leads on the gentleman who worked at Mills who's been missing?
No, actually, we did a search this morning with Department of Natural Resources down in the water, down by the city dock in Eagle Alley area. Mr. Stewart was last seen about 1 a.m. Thursday into Friday morning. He did not show up for work the next morning at Mills, and then later in the evening, he was reported missing to us. Since that 1 a.m. sighting, he has not been seen. He was last seen in the area by the water, by city dock. There was no indication that he had gone in the water, but since we have no idea where he is, we asked DNR to help us check with the sonar. Nothing was found. His friends and family are obviously really concerned. This is not something that he would normally do. He hasn't done this sort of thing before. So, you know, there's no suspicious circumstances surrounding his, you know, being missing, but we are very concerned about his welfare. So they're actually down there tonight.
At 8 o'clock, or
yes, and one of our detectives is down there too, going around passing out flyers just in case anyone has seen him. So we're still investigating. We hope we can.
Do you have a picture that you can put up now of him?
Yeah, I can pull it up on the Facebook page actually.
Did they check his cell phone records? I mean, does his cell phone stop at that time as well?
We do all those checks when we have a missing person with a situation like this, and there's been no leads. So.
He left his cell phone at work.
Look at that, it's like I'm already here. They're looking at my personal Facebook page now, guys. Oh, that's him!
That's her.
Come on, that's not mine, that's not mine. Okay, okay, here we go. There's my little one there. Okay, let's see. This is actually him right here, and let's see if I can get it better. There you go. That's Mr. Stewart. I believe he's a St. John's graduate, maybe 2009 I heard. So he's a local guy. He's been in the area and has worked at Mills. And like I said, they are very concerned about him since they haven't heard from him. We also had a big arrest in October with Mr. Jenkins here. He was charged with 11 different indecent exposures in the Eastport area, mostly on Bryson and Gemini Drive. It was over a period of, the earliest one was in 2012, but most were, that was one case, and then the rest were in 2013. With the help of the intelligence unit, this guy would go back to the same address several times doing this. He would knock on the door, expose himself, and then walk off when the woman screamed. So they were able, based on him targeting the same locations, the intelligence unit was able to place some cameras at these women's houses to try and capture him in the act. We were able to do that, and through those pictures we were able to identify him, and then through DNA testing on the evidence he left behind, we were able to tie him to those cases.
Has he been to trial?
He has not. He is awaiting trial. So that was just October he was charged with that. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
We don't work that fast.
And then actually this is to highlight some of the stupidity of people that we stopped, and also to highlight how a simple traffic stop can lead to a good arrest. Derwin Spriggs was stopped September 9th for having an expired registration on his vehicle. So he just didn't get his little sticker changed on his car in time. The officer stopped him, seemed a bit nervous. After he handed the officer his driver's license, he decided to take off running. The officer did not find him at that time, but as they were checking his vehicle, because it had a very strong smell of marijuana coming from it, he found a gallon Ziploc bag containing a large quantity of marijuana. He found 2 digital scales, and then when he was checking the trunk, he found a 9mm handgun also. The marijuana weighed a total of, it was several different packages. Total was 175 grams, which would be enough for distribution, obviously. He also had currency in his car, over $3,000. That was seized, the car was seized, and they applied for a warrant. Thankfully, they knew exactly who he was because he'd given the officer his driver's license. He has been arrested. This was actually his booking photo. He tried to run. He gave the officers a false name first, and then he ran again. But because they knew that this was Mr. Spriggs and he was wanted for this handgun violation, they continued to chase him. He jumped several fences until he went to a very high fence and went head first down over it, trying to get away from the officers. There was an officer on the other side of that fence who put him in handcuffs and brought him in. He obviously got a little banged up going over the fences downtown, and he is being held pending his trial, and I believe like $300,000 bond. Mr. Bell here is one of these guys as well. We got this call through a citizen calling about drug activity on Juliana Circle, which is just down from Newtown Drive off Forest Drive. They called on this vehicle. They believed it was involved in drug activity in that area. The officer found the vehicle, tried to stop it, and then the guys that were in the car ran out of it. Mr. Bell was one of the guys in the car. The car was full of documents that belonged to Mr. Bell, and also a .40 caliber handgun. And again, he was apprehended later and charged, and he's currently incarcerated as well, awaiting his trial on that case. So it may seem like a simple traffic stop, but we got 2 guns off the street because of that. And we'll get to the LaBelle Saison theft in a second, but again, with the citizens helping us, in July, a 16-year-old tried to snatch a cell phone from a woman. When he did, down on Cathedral Street, actually it was at Starbucks, on Maryland Avenue, Maryland Inn at Church Circle. He snatched her phone, ran out. Citizens gave chase and held him down until we got there. She got the phone back, and he got arrested. The LaBelle Saison theft, we had, again, we hadn't had information from the witness who saw this happen. These 2 gentlemen and a third snatched over, what was it? How much? Over $12,000 worth of jewelry they snatched from behind the counter at LaBelle Saison. A witness saw them, thought they were suspicious, saw them run out of the store, gave us a good vehicle description and a tag number. Our officers located the vehicle. Mr. Miller there pled guilty to theft. He got a 15-year sentence. Of course, all but 3 years of that was suspended. But he has charges down in, I believe, Georgia and Alabama outstanding. Mr. Swinson also, he did an Alford plea, which is a little different. He doesn't admit guilt, but he still pled guilty. He was sentenced to 3 years, but all but 4 months to 21 days was suspended. So that was a great case. You know, the information getting to us with the vehicle information is what makes that case. And again, I can't talk enough about citizens calling us. This guy was pulling on door handles on cars in Gentry Court area, and someone saw him doing it, called us. We were able to find him. He had a GPS, digital camera, other items that didn't belong to him. And so this year, these are other people that were arrested for theft from vehicle. The ones outlined in red were all arrested more than once this year, not necessarily just for theft from vehicle, but they were all arrested more than once. You know, we find that a lot of these guys do more than one theft from vehicle, and we maybe catch them for 1 or 2 of them. And it's hard to tie them to more, but Lamont Crowner, who's up in the top right-hand corner, he's been, he hit off of Forest Drive, off Quietwater's Place. He hit several vehicles over there. He was just arrested again last week or the week before for stolen vehicle. Vehicle was left running, he jumped in it. He does that too, he steals vehicles. Micah Hayes, who's the second from the bottom on the very left side with the long dreads, he was very prolific earlier this year, stealing from vehicles. We caught him for a few of those, but there's probably more that we couldn't tie him to. And then recently, we arrested these guys last week for Mr. Carbaugh for robbing the 7-Eleven twice, and Mr. Johnson for an armed robbery on Ben's Drive.